Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, professor of physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're talking about the week of April 1st, 2024. This time around, we have a favorable moon week. The moon is waning away and is in the morning sky and getting pretty thin by the end of the week. In fact, so here's what's going to happen. By the early morning of the 6th, the moon has faded away to about 7% full. Very hard to see. If you have a good pair of binoculars and you start scanning the eastern sky as the glow of sunrise is coming, you'll be able to see it there. What's interesting about it at that point is it's passing by really close to Saturn. And Mars is in the area too there. And they make a good view. I have my doubts how well you'll be able to see them in the glow of the sunrise. But you can give it a try. Morning of the 6th, watch the thinning crescent moon, the waning crescent moon, pass by Mars and Saturn and see what you can do. Of course, what's going on is the moon is headed toward a new, and we should talk about this a little bit this time around, because on the 8th, the moon will be new. And when it's new, it's between us and the sun, and it usually, when it's between us and the sun, the moon's orbit. Let's talk about it this way. So there's the sun, there's the Earth. The moon's orbit around the Earth has a tilt, has an inclination. We talk about that plane right there that defines the Earth-Sun or the Earth-Sun orbital plane. That's the ecliptic. And the moon orbits the Earth with an inclination of just over 5 degrees relative to the ecliptic. So that means it spends most of its time above and below the ecliptic plane, the line, the path, the plane that holds the Earth's orbit around the sun. But it does have to cross that plane. And if it crosses that plane when it is full, then it's out here, and we get a lunar eclipse. If it crosses that plane when it's new, it's in here, and we can get a solar eclipse. And of course, on the 8th, those of you who live in the United States know very well, there's been a well-advertised solar eclipse coming up on the 8th. And so it is crossing, the moon's orbit is crossing the plane of the ecliptic. The plane of the moon's orbit intersects the plane of the ecliptic with an angle of about 5 degrees. And at this point, it's crossing the moon is crossing the orbital plane of the Earth that's April 8th, when it's new. And we get a pretty good total solar eclipse. It passes through the United States from Texas on up to the northeast. And it's well worth checking out if you have the chance to check it out. I saw the one out west, whatever that is, 7 years ago now. And that was, I'd never been someone myself. I like to sit and watch. I like to look at the local area and kind of watch things evolve and see this slow churn of time moving. And these sort of dramatic singular events haven't held that much appeal for me. But the one a few years ago was well-placed timing-wise. It was timed well before our semester started, so we had a chance to go out west. And out west, in the middle of summer, that was in August. And so out west in August in the United States, it's dry. And so we had a pretty good chance that we would have clear skies to be able to see it. I'm less confident going east in spring that the skies would be clear. And that's a Monday. That's right in the middle of our semester. It didn't feel like I could get away from this. But we went to this eclipse a few years ago, and it was dramatic. It was one of those really dramatic things. You hear people say this. You see people write about this, but you just can't know what they're talking about until you see it. And that moment where the sky gets dark in the middle of the day, it just is really dramatic. And if you have a chance to see a total eclipse, even if it's just for 10 or 15 seconds of totality, you got a few minutes of totality if you're in the right spot for this. This eclipse goes right through my hometown where I grew up. And so it would be a good chance for me to do this if the timing were just a little bit different. But if you get a chance, it's worth doing. It really is worth doing. The difference between 99%, you've read this before too, I'm sure. The difference between 99% eclipse and 100% eclipse is almost infinite. It really is dramatic when the sun goes away completely like that. And if it goes away for more than a minute, it's worth the effort. Anyway, that's coming up. So you can see that as the moon wanes away toward new. Recognize that when it's new, it's going to be directly between us and the sun on April 8th. And you can watch. You can just Just watch that build this week. You can just sense the drama as the moon wanes away and becomes a very thin crescent and passes by Saturn and Mars on the morning of the 6th. So anyway, give that a shot. If you want to get out and try to get a last look at the moon on the morning of the 6th with a good pair of binoculars before it heads into this eclipse, I recommend it. If we look in the evening sky, we talked about Jupiter. So in the last couple of weeks, the last few weeks, we've had a chance to talk about Comet Pons.Brooks, and we've had a chance to talk about Jupiter last week and its motion relative to some stars and to Uranus. And so let's pick that up again this week. So we've got, there's Jupiter. Jupiter's the brightest object in the southwest sky as we get after dark this week. So you'll see Jupiter glowing out there. Jupiter starts the week about 3 degrees from Uranus, and it ends the week about 2 degrees from Uranus. So it's closing that gap on Uranus. Great chance. Get your binoculars out. Great chance to identify Uranus that it's moving toward. Uranus is probably going to be it's a big, you can tell it's a planet. You can tell it's not a point-like dot of light in there. So you get a chance to see that. Now, about 15 degrees up this direction is Hamal, Alpha Arietis, the brightest star in Aries is Hamal. Hamal, we go to Allen's star names often to understand the history of our star names. This has many of our stars. This is an Arabic name, Ras Hamal, Al Ras Hamal. The head of the goat, the head of the sheep, is how that would translate. And so that's this star Hamal right now. What's interesting, this area it's a second magnitude star, so reasonably bright, and it'll be the brightest star you see as you move from Jupiter off this direction. This whole region of the sky sets about 2.5 hours after the sun, which means you've got an hour to get out there and look at it before, after the glow of the sunset has disappeared. But it's going to be pretty low on the horizon, pretty hard to see. But what's interesting about it is Pons.Brooks, our comet, is passing right by there right now. So you'll watch it as the week opens. It's very near Hamal. And as the week closes, it will have closed this gap down on Jupiter over this direction. So you can kind of track it this week, our comet moving towards Jupiter this direction. Binoculars should be, maybe you can see it with your naked eye. Binoculars in the lowness of sunset over there. Binoculars are going to be very helpful. So you get out there and you see that. Now, if you go the other direction, you found Uranus, you move on up this direction. Remember, it's 14, 15 degrees out to Hamal. About 13 to 14 degrees up this way is the Pleiades. Pleiades is the beautiful open star cluster in Taurus. You can see that with your naked eye easily enough. Binoculars turn it into a nice glittering little clump of stars, a little scoop of stars, and that's all great to see up that direction. So use that, find Hamal, find Pons.Brooks right there, headed past Hamal toward Jupiter this week, getting deep in the atmosphere, hard to see. Move the other direction to find the Pleiades, and then you turn sort of straight up from the Pleiades. You go this direction and turn straight up. And the star you come up there is Zeta Persei, is that star, Atik. It's known as, it's a 2.8 magnitude star. So still a pretty easy star to see, but not super bright star. And so Atik is part of the Zeta Persei group, and it's a young star cluster. So stars are born out of a cloud of gas, and the cloud of gas then, the gravity wins over pressure and causes the collapse. And so this is a very luminous star. You can, when a gas cloud collapses, you mostly make small stars smaller than the sun even. But you can make a few very big, bright stars, and they don't live very long. And so this is a young group of stars. This is a young cluster of stars. Maybe even, at the tail end of star formation going on there, because you still see big, bright stars. This is I think, the most luminous star in Perseus. I think this is the emitting the most light. It's bright. So that means it's pretty far away from us to only look like a 2.8 magnitude star. So go out there and check out Atik. It's the end star in the leg of one of the legs of Perseus. Perseus, to me, looks like a sweep of stars like that, like a J, with a strand of legs coming down there. It's an end star in one of the legs that you see. But if you drift on up to the north of there about 4 degrees, you come to the California Nebula, NGC 1499. And this is a really hard nebula to see. But this is a cloud of gas that maybe is associated with this region that you see right there. So you see nebulosity. You see this this glow of gas that's there, but it's very, very low surface brightness. It's only slightly brighter than the background sky, and so very hard to see. It's big, but hard to see. You give it a try with your binoculars. I don't think it's probably going to work. I think you probably need a pretty big telescope to make this work. Big telescope, but with a wide field of view. Not much magnification, but give it a try if you've got a telescope and you want to try with your binoculars. Scan this region around here. Look at other bright stars that are part of this Zeta Persei group around Atik, and then see what you can see about this California nebula, NGC 1499 to the north of there. Give it a try. See if you can see it. A lot more challenging than Pons.Brooks is going to be over here by Hamal, or even Uranus is going to be in the field with Jupiter. Definitely a lot more challenging than the eclipse is going to be. If the eclipse, if you're aware the eclipse happens, if you happen to be able to see that total eclipse, you might be able to see Pons.Brooks during the daytime. When it gets dark, you might be able to see the comet pop out there, which would be kind of a nice thing. It'd be up high in the sky, then to be able to see. So that's what we got. Good, fun week. A good, interesting week for us, everybody. As always, thanks for watching.